Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Adam Wolf, and today we've got a reaction for you for Titan Quest 2. This is a game that I was not really aware was going to be a thing. I knew Titan Quest 1 existed, didn't know what kind of game it was, but it was in my library. As soon as I saw Titan Quest 2 gameplay, or at least the announcement trailer, I was like, oh, it's a dungeon crawler or action RPG style game. My favorite kind of game. So, needless to say, I'm very excited for this one, mostly because Titan Quest 2 is a massive graphical update. Now, given the fact that the first one came out so long ago, that's not really surprising that it's graphically superior, but it really is starting to, it looks like it's on the same level as like PoE 2 or Diablo 4. The visuals are just so good looking, and I cannot wait to actually see the gameplay that we're about to see. This is actually gameplay with dev commentary, so, you know, I'm going to try not to talk over them too much, but obviously it's a reaction video, so I kind of have to do something. But I'm really here for the gameplay, not the dev commentary, though I do actually enjoy listening to what the devs have to say about their work. So, this ought to be interesting. It's the only gameplay that I know exists, at least. I know there have been a few trailers since then for Titan Quest 2, but this is the only one that really has like full gameplay, and it's an official gameplay thing rather than like a third-party like YouTube channel or whatever. So, let's get into it. Grab yourself a drink.
Welcome everyone to a playthrough of the Titan Quest 2 Gamescom demo. We're the developers at Grimlore. My name is Baden Martin. I'm the lead systems designer.
And I'm Florian Jonas. Some of you may know me as the white t-shirt guy.
Oh, good. They're starting on a beach.
Technical art director here at Grimlore Games.
That hasn't been done before.
2 roles in 1. Excellent. So this is basically a live.
So I have
playthrough.
started playing Titan Quest 1. I have started playing Titan Quest 1. And again, it's nothing like this. It doesn't visually, it doesn't look anything like this. Gameplay wise, I guess we'll see, but it's an action RPG, so you know, if you played one, you played them all essentially.
We've got a lot to share about the world of Titan Quest 2, which is obviously set in Greek mythology. We're keeping
one of my favorite mythologies.
Theme of it being this bright and vibrant place. Somewhere where you'd want to take a holiday, but maybe you wouldn't want to take a holiday with all the monsters around.
Yeah, that's definitely right. And the Gamescom demo actually starts.
It's very much like PoE, you know, Diablo 4. Like, I mean, just in general, like a lot of the interface looks like the item names, just basic text surrounded by a black box. That's very much PoE.
Bit after the intro chapter, which also will be part of early access, where we will learn that yeah, Nemesis is after us, and now we as a player who barely escaped her have now to find out like why is the goddess Nemesis after us, and who better to ask than the Moirai, the 3 fates of Greek mythology.
Let me just make sure
to get access to them, we will have to find a god. But first, it would help to find some kind of village, people that can guide us. So that's what we're doing right now. Here on the beach, there's a bunch of crabs. They're kind of bad from Titan Quest 1, but in some different ways. As well as the Ichthyans. Here's the first one.
What generally can be said about Titan Quest is that we have this handcrafted world, so we don't use any procedural level generation, at least for now. And yeah, this allows us to really take
2006 the first Titan Quest came out, and then they remastered it,
create,
so to speak.
memorable situations for the player. Like here, this ladder might be missed by a few people, but yeah, it actually leads to a little area.
3 expansions came out for Titan Quest 1 between 2017 and 2021.
Also discovers
that's
something else.
Kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah, this is also pretty early in the game, so you know the encounters
came to mobile first. Okay, PS4 and Xbox
easy,
One in 2018.
But we're still putting some rewards here,
re-released,
as well
I suppose.
as some nice view with the waterfall over there. And as far as exploration goes, More rewards.
Now, as far as this goes, I probably won't watch the whole thing. It's like 40 minutes long. But we will actually kind of look at this and get an idea as to what's going on here. And then you guys can check out the rest of the video for yourselves, because I don't want to, like, I mean, it's 3 months old, so they've gotten as many views as they're going to get probably, but don't want to take too much away from them.
Or exploration. But it's optional. You don't have to come here to the Altar of Benevolence. You could have just skipped this.
Yeah, we're trying to break up these combat pauses like you saw before when
powers are cool.
Balint was running back from the first
right
Legions, to have these little scenic
events. But the visuals
like
are just so far beyond
That's
the
right.
first
So
game,
we've got a bunch
again,
of choice.
2006 is when the first game came out. You'd expect it to actually look better.
There's dialogues here that we're currently covering up with the camera, but that's
I didn't
fine.
know that it got 3 expansions between 2017 and 2021.
Here, and that
it has a total of
4,
one
items,
of which came out, I think, in 2008.
We've got a lot of items,
it was like
and
almost
they're
10 years
really cool.
until they came out with more.
Not just in terms of visuals, but also in terms of what they do. So we've brought back, obviously, all the things about rarities that
this
you
is why
imagine.
I love THQ Nordic, though, because they are
basically come with a different number
either reviving
of affixes, but we
or
also put the items
just
into
putting
these
out
families, which are essentially these
a
visual
lot of
groupings
indie developers that are like,
of the items, and then those will also bring a specific effect with them. The innate effect,
that are really passionate about making
here
good games.
On the
But the original THQ does actually own Titan Quest 1.
Visual groupings have been
and
created.
Nordic, of course, just took up most of THQ's.
Yeah, so as in other games, obviously
developers
we have a lot
Iron
of
Lore
classes,
Entertainment for the first game,
all these weapon
but
classes
the
like
second game,
one-hand sword, shield, bow, all of these we have divided in 3 families each, as Balint was mentioning already, and each of these families kind of represent or kind of support a playstyle a bit more. I mean, after all, they stay the same. So our two-hand axe, for example, will always be the slow, heavy-hitting weapon compared to a sword, let's say. But there are nuances that can be shifted with these families. So, for example, to stay with the example of the two-handed axes, we have heavy, medium, and light axes, and the light axe might be maybe focusing more on a crit build, while the heavy axes more support this really builds that just want to bring the damage to the enemies. And visually, we kind of differentiate between generated items and uniques or monster infrequents or faction items. And so especially in the early game or in combat situation, most of the time, if you're not facing unique
there's no Wikipedia page for Titan Quest 2,
generated items. And
I don't know if Grimlore is made up of the original developer or not.
Pieces that kind of get randomized together. So
it looks like if they're not, they're sticking true to the original vision,
where the player can find different looking weapons as often as possible, because we definitely know that loot is a big part of an ARPG, obviously, and so each weapon will consist at least of 2 parts, but many of more parts actually as well. And this is not only reflected in the 3D mesh. This is also like you can see the.
I love the visuals. Just the environment looks really good.
You can see it on your player character, because I think personally this is really something that stands out. For us, and I think it's really rewarding just to see everything on your character displayed, and also in the inventory.
Now here's the thing. Speaking on the visuals, I'm kind of like over ray tracing at this point. I think it's a bit nonsensical. While it can add to a game, it takes a lot away from a game in terms of like performance-wise, stability-wise, especially image stability can take a major hit if the ray tracing isn't implemented correctly, or it's a lower version of ray tracing. So I really think we could pretty much just go without ray tracing at this point, and guaranteed this game probably isn't running any ray tracing. But I have yet to see an action RPG like Diablo, like Titan Quest, like Path of Exile actually run any ray tracing. I could be wrong. I haven't heard anything, but these games I think would probably benefit the most, because because of the way that they're set up, you have this isometric view, the camera's looking down, and you only have a certain amount of the game environment actually rendering on screen, whereas the rest of it, anything above the top of the screen there, not being rendered, and it calls as soon as you start, moving in that direction, it'll call those objects into view, and it's just, and then it creates the environment. But I really think ray tracing could be super beneficial to games like this because you're not really up on the character. You can, but you're not really up on the character. So it's like most of the time, so little imperfections here and there may not be as noticeable as they would be if you're like a third person or a first person game. I just think that developers should explore ray tracing in action RPGs, or I'm going to call them isometric action RPGs, just given the fact that, Souls-like games are considered action RPGs as well. So it'd be nice to see if maybe someday one of these types of games will actually implement some ray tracing. But other than that, yeah, like that's just, I want to see it. I want to see what kind of visuals we can get out of games like this.
Yeah, here it is.
But other than that,
on the ground,
kind of
it looks exactly the same as it does in the inventory, as it does
the idea
on
of
the
ray tracing.
icon. And we've just seen some more complex fights here that really brought down my health. I didn't do a very good job of dodging, but you don't need to dodge if you can kite. So there's many different varieties of playstyles that we want to allow. Yes, the dodge is a very central skill.
So it looks like you can
have
be
to always use
a
it.
warrior,
No, not really, no.
a mage,
speaking of
thief,
skills,
maybe,
we're about to
ranger.
level up, and when we do, we'll be talking about the
But it doesn't look like you really
change
change characters. You just change weapons, which
it seems
that's fine with me.
Ichthian Guardians have been dropping some special items, and we'll be picking those up. There's a separate stash here for quest items, so wonder what that could be for.
While you can maybe shed some light on what these cons actually do. The viewers who actually watched out may have seen a bug actually, because the staff that we mentioned actually doesn't look in game as it does on the icon. So props for you who found out. This is actually a bug. Sorry that it happened, but we're on to the items. Like, this is a very first iterations, and we have a fix already in an internal build. Just wanted to be sure we're on the same page here.
That's right. This build is actually old now, so there is that. We still wanted to show you, for those of you who
animations look
attend
good
in person, and that's, I think, totally fine. It is far for some of you after all.
For an old build, they look pretty good.
Leveled up, and it's time to talk a little bit about those masteries. So we still have the whole thing of combining two masteries to form your own
I still have
class.
yet to really get into Titan Quest 1.
So it's classic
I've started
Titan
it, but I
stuff.
haven't
We have
continued it
active
yet.
skills
So,
as well as passive
and with
skills.
Path of
Of
Exile
course,
2 out now,
what you see here in terms of the size of the skill tree,
I'll
is
hit it up.
drastically
I
cut
just
down for games
reinstalled
from
a whole
demos
bunch of
specifically so that
isometric ARPGs
players
on my
with their limited
console,
time
so
sessions
we'll be-
over there could just get
we'll be hitting
into
it
it and figure out what's going on within the skills. So these are the modifiers that you can slot in, which will cost some capacity slots, which then you unlock with your active points. So if I want to modify my leap slam now to do more stuff, such as also do a stun, then I can assign
capacity.
This, but that will take two of these slots. However, if I take it out, I gain those back, and I can do this anytime. I could assign the rage gain, which is also a really nice modifier.
So eventually,
and well, we need to
it looks like you
somehow
could
make
just
use of that rage,
have
right? It's
all
just
of
a
those
status
modifiers
effect.
active.
We've got this onslaught on the primary weapon attack.
So we take a look. If it looks like it's 2 capacity for each one, but there's only 5, which means you would only need to go up to 10, but they've got up to 20 or level 20. So it was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, okay. So yeah, it's 10. So you can basically just have all of them, but you got to get to level 20 or insert 20 points in order to unlock all the slots, and then you can have all the modifiers. At least you're not like, I don't mind games where they kind of limit your choice so that way the game flows in a certain direction, or at least it plays in a certain way that you've decided to go. However, it is also very nice when it just allows you to unlock everything and just be a powerhouse. I mean, video games in a lot of respects, a lot of video games, there's supposed to be a power fantasy. And in order to feel that power fantasy, sometimes you just need to be able to unlock everything. And it's really cool to see that. So it looks like overall, the more you level up, the more points you put into each one, you can eventually have all the modifiers active and just be a ridiculous powerhouse, which I'm really excited about.
And I have some more points available over there. So why don't we just get that, put it on, and then it can work in tandem with our Frost Explosion, which essentially converts some of our damage to cold, and then causes some explosions when enemies get frozen, which we can very easily do with our Frost Nova as well. Ice Nova, sorry.
Isometric ARPGs became like my favorite genre, but there's just so many
from every attack, as well as our leap slam,
and
will be increasing our attack speed. So we're going to be attacking pretty quickly. We also have Overwhelm,
that you could really
which is also
do
a
in
status
isometric
effect
ARPGs.
gained by the primary attack. Up to 3 stacks can be had.
Eventually, of course, they all start looking the same or all start playing the same. There's only so much you can do, but they're just so much fun for some reason. I don't know what it is.
More damage and in a larger radius.
I prefer them over most other genres.
We're going to build up the 3
yes,
stacks
I play a lot of first-person
shooters.
shooters. I play a lot of
consume it with a giant
third-person games, but in
once this cooldown is over,
isometric ARPGs are my favorite genre.
We'll be able to see how much smaller the regular one is
to play in. I'm still waiting on Final Fantasy to take that leap.
There you go. Giant size difference.
And I love Final Fantasy.
We also have some passive points, which will be
my favorite JRPG of all time is Final Fantasy.
Don't quite have modifiers. They
have yet to actually explore the isometric ARPG genre.
The way we have it set up now is that at level 3,
they've done the tactics.
One slot
genre,
and
so
then
you got
at
Final
level
Fantasy
6 another
Tactics.
slot. I just invested here so that we can get the
they had
element
Crystal
chance
Chronicles,
to
which I suppose
synergize here
like
with our
that,
application
but that's more
of
like a
chill
Zelda type game
from our regular weapon attack. We'll put that in, and that will be great overall. And then in Storm, we can diverge a little bit and get a little bit of energy, because when I spam my ice shards, I run out of energy. Not great.
And I think, one thing that we could answer that I have been seeing floating around the community is the question if masteries actually have an effect on the modifiers. Do masteries bring additional modifiers at all, at some one way or the other?
So we don't do cross mastery modifiers really, but we do these cross mastery effects. So for example, rage could be consumed by something in Storm in the future, or overwhelm. There's definitely examples for that. So you do have these natural synergies that are gonna go across, and you have modifiers injecting themselves into the global abilities at the moment, such as the dodge, such as the regular weapon attack.
Right, so I think the Frost Explosion, for example, is a good example for that. That actually, like the Frost Explosion is a skill that takes advantage of the frozen state, especially of enemies, and this actually comes from the Storm Mastery, right?
Yes.
Perfect.
What happened here?
Yes, it just happens to naturally also synergize with what's in Warfare, right? So you get a lot of double benefits. You get a lot of stick stacking. Definitely worth making use of that. And now that I've reached my high stack count on Rage, you can see how quick the attack speed has become. So it definitely is transformative in that sense. And why am I allowed to make use of Warfare skills, but with the staff? I'm kind of setting myself up to be a mage here, aren't I? Well, that is possible because of our attribute system. So our attributes are basically this 3-directional triangle that you're looking at, but it becomes 6-directional once you start combining.
Kind of looks like the Paragon system.
Vigor in the middle as well, which impacts your health. But Might,
sort of.
What that does, it basically unlocks your support for heavy armor as well as heavy weapons that you would expect from a warrior. Knowledge is more the mage stuff, like robes as well as staves. Agility is more like the deck stuff that you'd be used to from other RPG games, so daggers and stuff like that. But then we have things like fitness. Fitness looks at a combination. We have a formula for this, for might, vigor, and agility basically get combined into fitness, depending on how you spread this out. Might and
like
agility contribute more than vigor. But what this does
pie chart? No.
Is strike damage
yeah,
and pierce damage gets increased by fitness, and then
you got
resolve,
like the circles and they all intersect,
might,
and the intersections
vigor,
are
and knowledge. That will give you fire and cold damage, and we have a lot of that right now, as well as fitness. But because we are an ice warrior,
a pie chart. That's a different type of chart.
We kind of want to.
I can't remember the name of it though.
A storm warrior. We kind of want to go into resolve here to play into cold damage. That's what we have a lot of right now. So we could go more into might and support our heavy armor now, and still be a mage in terms of damage, but have the option to swap to pure physical. Flexibility, choice, choice, choice. That's the motto here.
Good. Because I mean, if you're going to be making an isometric ARPG, I think the barometer at this point is Path of Exile, just because even the first game gave you so much choice as to how you wanted to build your characters. You know, you could be a warrior with heavy armor, but also use a lot of spells. Like, that was possible. And PoE 2 is continuing that, you know, that routine essentially. So, while that is very much more simplified, which I'm okay with, it's good to know that it's like, okay, you know, if you want to make a choice that you want heavy armor, but you want to be a mage, you can do that.
Melee weapon,
player
for example,
agency
we could switch out that staff.
Is a good thing.
Yeah, just for
and a lot of AAA companies don't seem to understand the concept.
It would just work.
They say their games have player agency, but they really don't.
Build, right?
Mm-hmm. We will at some point definitely swap for something. We do want to show off the stuff after all. The teleporters, it will come in very useful momentarily. Unfortunately, we have some issues with the ranged mechanics still. As you saw, some projectiles were missing. So what I'll do is, at the first opportunity, we will be...
See, if I was playing the game and I saw that happening, I would literally think it was like in Path of Exile 2, there's an accuracy rating, just like in the first game. And I would just think that was like something I would have to increase or whatever, which is honestly a stupid mechanic. I don't like it at all, but it's in the game, so you know it has to be increased. But that's what I would think when something like that would happen. But he just straight up said, no, this isn't supposed to happen. Like, the ranged attacks are supposed to hit. Like, if you're trying to hit it, you're supposed to hit it.
Swapping to something with melee. Maybe we get to show dual wield as the enemies drop stuff. But yeah, it's not always bright and pretty in Greece over here. We've got the caves. It's gonna be kind of chock full of spiders.
Sometimes
well as,
the way
skellies, stuff like that, you can totally expect.
Sometimes
we don't shy away from the ARPG staples,
that a game can look is
but
in
we're
the
definitely in.
And that's not to say that like, oh, I don't want to see any detail. It's just like nighttime and dark caves, and it really, for whatever reason, brings out a lot of detail. And games tend to look very good in dark scenarios, and I love seeing stuff like this.
Brighter spots than most of the competition would be.
Maybe I can quickly say something about the ragdoll, because I saw that also in the comments. I think people were complaining a bit, rightfully so, in the trailer that there was a bit lack of ragdoll physics, although it was already enabled. We didn't make it in time.
That's what
for the trailer. We definitely amped it up for the games conversion, though.
I mean, I think at this point, you know, ragdoll should just be a staple in general. Like, it's physics based, you know, animation. You know, you kill something, it should just fall down and die, because that's what would happen. And if Diablo 3 can have it in spades, then I think a game in 2024, 2025, whenever Titan Quest 2 comes out, they have an announcement trailer for the date. Then yeah, in whatever year this is coming out, which is I think it's 2025, it should have ragdoll physics, because it can't possibly be that complex to compute at this point. It's such a mainstay, it's such a staple in the industry at this point that it should be in most games.
Yeah, invested a bit more into that system, so the ragdoll impact is a pure visual thing, right? But if the death blow, which triggers the ragdoll, is now actually a bit adjustable. So each skill and also each weapon will have a different impact on how far the enemies will actually be flung. So if you kill somebody with a two-hand axe or a heavy warfare skill, you will definitely send the spiders flying. Although, just a death blow with a dagger, for example, will not have the same impact.
But as you can see, of course, he's hitting skeletons, and skeletons are just turning to dust, which makes sense for the enemy type. But if it is a flesh and bone type of character, I think Ragdoll should be taken into consideration like it was with the bats. Okay, I think I'm going to stop it there just because, like, we've seen the gameplay. It looks really good. Visuals are very good looking. And I'm really excited for this one. I really need to get on playing the first game and continuing that story. I don't know if the story is going to be anything to write home about. I have no idea. I said the same thing about Path of Exile 1, which so far I'm not really seeing what the story is. It's just a bunch of jumbled quests put together to progress the game forward, but there's no cohesive story. Second game, it's a little bit better, but I'm still not entirely sure what the overall story is. So, I'm hoping that Titan Quest 2 kind of balks the trend and actually gives us a good, a story that is cohesive. You go from one quest to another, and you know exactly what's going on. Titan Quest 1, not entirely sure what it is, but if I get, once I start playing it more, I'm sure I'll hopefully understand, and hopefully there's an actual overall story to that. If not, that's okay. I love isometric ARPGs anyway. These are some of my favorite games to play. The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing, Titan Quest, Diablo, Path of Exile now. So it's really my kind of game, my kind of genre. So I'm really excited for Titan Quest 2. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. How is this game looking for you? Do you actually also enjoy this genre? And what are some of the isometric ARPGs that you have played over the years, and are you still playing them? Because there's still people playing Diablo 2, the original, not even the remaster. There's people playing the original Diablo 2 to this day. These games will stand the test of time, to say the least. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Please join me again in the next one, where we take a look at another trailer or gameplay, and see what we think of it. I don't know what to do for an outro for this series. It's just like, I just have to think of something, I guess. I don't know. But until then, I'm Adam Wolf. This is Titan Quest 2. And I'll see you guys later.